Hello, I'm Don Mitchell. Welcome back to Business Basics. Today we'll be talking more about ways to reduce investment intensity for you and all of your stakeholders. Our topic is from Lesson 47, which is entitled Avoid Mistakes in Extracting Cash from the Balance Sheet. As always, let me begin by quoting from the Bible, in this case, the book of 1 Kings, chapter 10, verses 23 and 24, in the New King James Version. So King Solomon surpassed all the kings of the earth in riches and wisdom. Now all the earth sought the presence of Solomon to hear his wisdom, which God had put in his heart. What happens when you increase an organization's revenues by 20 times, reduce cost per offering by 96%, and eliminate 96% of all investments per offering? You create an organization that has a very high profit margin, large profits, little need to reinvest, and a great deal of cash. One of the most famous examples of this phenomenon occurred when Microsoft successfully rode the personal computer industry's expansion by selling operating systems and application programs. In the year of this writing, the company generated $17 billion more in cash than it needed to operate. Even after eliminating a great deal of excess cash in prior years, the organization still retained cash reserves of more than $40 billion. While it's always good to be sure that you have enough cash to meet your organization's needs in good times and bad, it's not such a good idea to pile up excess cash. Here are some of the potential problems from doing so. First, you may have slowed the market's growth by charging too high prices and making too few improvements so that customers' capabilities to afford your offerings are less than they could have been. Second, you earn only a small return from holding the cash, probably no more than 2% after tax at the time of this writing, compared to the much higher returns available from wisely investing in business improvements. Third, the extra cash can suggest to investors that you have too few growth and investment opportunities, reducing the value of your organization's equity and thereby harming shareholders. Fourth, you could attract adverse attention from those who regulate your firm as well as from those who make decisions about buying from your organization. Fifth, stakeholders may become wary of your intentions, sensing an attitude of all stakeholders exist to make the company disgustingly wealthy. Sixth, you may encourage entry by new competitors and expansion by existing firms because it's so financially attractive and affordable to compete against you. What do companies typically do with excess cash before the amount becomes an embarrassment? I didn't conduct a study, nor do I know of one, but my impressions are as follows. First, pay larger dividends to shareholders rather. Second, repurchase the company's own stock. Third, repay any debt. Fourth, make acquisitions. Fifth, pay for backward and forward integrations that make the organization more capital intensive. Each of these cash uses may have serious problems. Here are some of the difficulties. You pay larger dividends to shareholders. In some countries, such as in the United States, dividends don't receive favorable tax treatment, so part of what you send to shareholders ends up going to the government. The net effect may be to reduce shareholder value. It's also hard to reduce dividend payments once started without causing a major drop in equity value. As a result, the decision could lead to a future cash drain at a time when the cash could be used more productively in some other way. Unless your equity is a high yield stock, by which I mean that the ratio of the dividend per share divided by the share price is a much higher percentage than what most comparable stocks yield, that attracts people who mostly want to receive a dividend. Most investors just reinvest the cash you send them in some other security, incurring added brokerage costs that reduce returns for them. You may unintentionally signal that you lack important new activities that might ever require investment of some of the cash. If your growth is slow, this perception could cause some stakeholders to give up on their hopes for growth through working with you. So let's look at the problems with purchasing your own stock. This transaction is often viewed as a more logical alternative to paying higher dividends. Share repurchases are easier to suspend without annoying shareholders. Tax issues are usually not quite so difficult. The effect is to boost the stock value and dividend growth for those who retain the shares for several more years. Potential exists for sending the negative signal, however, that you don't have any significant future opportunities for the cash. So the third area we're talking about is the disadvantages of repaying any debt. When interest costs associated with debt are high, such repayments can boost profits. In today's financial markets, debt costs are usually low. Also, companies with high profit margins, fast growth, and few assets probably aren't going to have much, if any, debt to repay. Again, the potential exists for sending a negative signal that you don't have any significant future business opportunities to use the cash. Let's look at the drawbacks of making acquisitions. If you have a high multiple stock as measured by price to earnings ratio per share, price to book per share, and price to revenues per share compared to other companies or industry, it's often more advantageous to use a stock rather than cash to pay for such transactions. That decision may be partially driven by tax considerations, such as when a share exchange isn't taxable to shareholders of the selling corporation, but cash payments are. The other consideration is simply the cost of one kind of capital versus another. Most acquisitions, other than those of direct competitors, don't work very well. So you also have the primary issue of whether the action is a good one in the first place. So finally, let's look at the drawbacks of paying for backward and forward integration investments that make the organization more capital intensive. Since such purchases can be very threatening to customers and suppliers, causing friendly relations to be harmed. If you don't perform such new activities much better than customers and suppliers do, you also run the risk of hurting your organization's overall effectiveness. What can we conclude from all this? Excess cash cannot be removed from the balance sheet in positive ways without examining many alternatives, making some very careful judgments, picking the right methods, and applying such methods at just the right times. As a result, the wisest decision in some cases will be to avoid building up excess cash. As you can see, I've opened up a major new topic. In future lessons, we look at how to anticipate, to manage, and to dispose of excess cash so it does the most good for reducing investments by all stakeholders. What's the key point about avoiding mistakes and extracting cash from the balance sheet? Redesign your company's business models, business methods of operating, use of facilities, ownership of facilities, breadth of product line, and offerings to reduce investments by 96% for you and your stakeholders in ways that can create lots of excess cash, a circumstance with potentially negative consequences. A key issue is how to manage such investment reductions to create the most benefit for all stakeholders. So your assignments are three. First, identify the 5 most significant ways you can use excess cash to provide more benefits that customers and suppliers are seeking. Second, consider how such changes would affect your other stakeholders. And finally, investigate how your company's business models, methods of operating, use of facilities, ownership of facilities, breadth of product line offerings could be shifted over time to be even more effective, but make it easier for stakeholders in your company to operate with very little investment as a result of how you use your excess cash. So I hope this lesson has been a blessing to you and will help you to be more successful in serving everyone who's affected by your organization. So I hope to talk to you again soon as we look at the remaining few lessons of business basics. But in the meantime, may God bless you, your family, and all you do in the name of Jesus. Goodbye for now.